So, welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into something that literally controls almost every single aspect of your daily life. And the crazy part? You probably don't even realize it's happening. We all love to think of ourselves as these entirely rational, independent creatures calling the shots 24/7. But actually, our daily lives are secretly run by invisible patterns. We're going to take a really fascinating journey into the science of habits. We'll look at how they form, how they completely govern us, and most importantly, how we can dismantle and rebuild them. And to kick things off, we're going to look at one of the most remarkable study participants known to modern science.
But first, I want you to just stop and ask yourself, who is really in control of your daily choices? Seriously, think about your morning routine today. Did you hop in the shower first, or did you immediately check your email? Which shoe did you tie first, the left or the right? What exact route did you take to work? I'm guessing you didn't sit there and consciously debate any of those actions, right? To really grasp how powerful these automatic choices are, we need to talk about a woman named Lisa Allen. Because to the scientists studying human behavior, she wasn't just a participant, she was an absolute medical marvel.
Okay, let's dive into this before and after because it is literally staggering. In her mid-20s, Lisa's life was, well, it was really tough. She'd struggled with obesity for most of her life, she was smoking and drinking heavily, collection agencies were hounding her for over $10,000 in debt, and she couldn't even hold down a job for more than a year. But then, fast forward just 4 years. The woman who walked into the research lab in Bethesda, Maryland, was completely transformed. I mean, night and day. She was lean, she was vibrant, she was running marathons, she had paid off every cent of that debt, bought a home, and had been absolutely crushing it at a graphic design firm for 39 months straight. So the scientists obviously had to know, how on earth does someone rewrite their entire existence in such a short window of time? Well, the answer actually traces back to one incredibly chaotic trip to Cairo, Egypt. Lisa was at her absolute emotional rock bottom. She'd just gone through this brutal divorce after finding out her husband was leaving her for someone else. She was crying all the time, binge eating, just feeling totally helpless. And one morning in Cairo, she wakes up and it's pitch black. She's disoriented, wildly jet-lagged, and she blindly reaches for a cigarette. But she didn't grab a Marlboro. She grabbed a plastic pen. And she was so completely out of it that she didn't even realize the mistake until she actually smelled the plastic burning. In that dark hotel room, after knocking over a water jug that just shattered everywhere, it hit her. This profound wave of desperation. She realized she had to find just one single thing in her life that she could actually control. So, on a taxi ride to the pyramids, she set this wild, seemingly impossible goal. She was going to come back and trek the desert. But to survive a trip like that, she knew she had to do one thing first. She had to quit smoking. So here is the absolutely crucial takeaway. Lisa didn't try to use sheer willpower to fix her finances, her career, her diet, and her fitness all at the exact same time. Honestly, that almost never works. Instead, she targeted what scientists call a keystone habit. Think of this as a single pattern that once you change it, sets off this incredible chain reaction. By focusing 100% of her energy on quitting smoking to prep for that desert trek, she created a massive ripple effect. Because she wasn't smoking, she started jogging to replace the urge. The jogging organically changed how she ate. Feeling healthier completely changed how she slept and how she worked, which stabilized her career, which in turn fixed her finances. It's like she just knocked over that one lead domino, and the rest of her life just naturally followed. Now, what's super fascinating is what the researchers actually saw when they put her inside an fMRI machine. When they showed her pictures of tempting food or cigarettes, the craving centers in her brain, they still lit up. Her brain was absolutely still producing those old neurological urges. But, and this is a big but, every time she came into the lab, there was all this new powerful activity right near her forehead, in the behavioral inhibition and self-discipline regions of her brain. So those old pathways hadn't just magically disappeared. Instead, they'd been physically crowded out and overwritten by these new behavioral patterns. Lisa literally rewired the geography of her own brain. And that right there brilliantly illustrates Charles Duhigg's core thesis. Habits aren't just one-off actions. They operate in this continuous loop. You've got a cue, a routine, and a reward. And once we wrap our heads around the fact that our behaviors are just running on this automated loop, it's a huge relief, right? Because it means we don't have to be victims to it anymore. We can actually spot the different parts of the loop, step in, intercept that routine, and consciously change it. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, I'm totally immune to this, I make my own conscious choices, this next piece of data might genuinely shock you. A major 2006 study out of Duke University found that over 40% of the actions we do every single day, they aren't actual decisions at all. They're just habits. 4 out of every 10 things you do today, what you grab for lunch, how you react to that super stressful email, the exact second you reach for your phone when you're bored, are completely on autopilot. And when you zoom out over a lifetime, that 40% is heavily dictating your health, your productivity, and your financial security. And while modern functional MRI machines and genetic sequencing are finally letting us map all of this in real time, the core philosophy is actually pretty old. The pioneering psychologist William James hit the nail on the head way back in 1892 when he wrote, "All our life, so far as it has definite form, is but a mass of habits." So, great thinkers have recognized this truth for well over a century. The real game changer today is that we finally have the actual instruction manual for how the machinery works. So let's take a look at how this builds, because it goes way beyond just us as individuals. Duhigg actually breaks this down into 3 distinct levels. We just talked about step 1, the biology of the individual, like Lisa Allen, but it scales up. Step 2, we can look at successful organizations, like how giants like Alcoa or Target use habits to revolutionize safety or literally predict what you're going to buy next. And then step 3, the macro level. We can examine the habits of entire societies and social movements. To really grasp that massive societal scale, this explainer takes us to a completely unexpected laboratory, Kufa, a small city about 90 miles south of Baghdad in Iraq. This is where we meet a U.S. Army major. Now, to be clear, this guy was not a neuroscientist. He was a guy from Georgia who loved chewing tobacco and spitting sunflower seeds. But the military had drilled him extensively in the psychology of habit formation. And incredibly, he ended up using that exact science to manage highly volatile, dangerous crowds in Kufa, literally without firing a single shot. See, the major started watching videotapes of recent riots in the city, and he noticed something really profound. A riot isn't just this spontaneous, unpredictable burst of chaos. It's actually a completely predictable, large-scale habit loop. He mapped out this fascinating timeline. He saw that, okay, hour 1, a small crowd gathers in a plaza. Hour 2, local kebab and food vendors spot a captive audience and show up to sell food. Hour 3, spectators start gathering just to eat and watch the initial crowd, so the plaza gets completely packed. And then hour 4, tensions rise in this huge mess of people, somebody throws a rock, and boom, the riot automatically kicks off. The sequence was almost identical every single time. So armed with this knowledge of habit loops, the major makes this brilliantly simple request to the local mayor. He says, just keep the kebab vendors out of the plazas. I know, it sounds totally unrelated to military strategy, right? But listen to what happened. A few weeks later, a crowd gathers at the Great Mosque. They're chanting, they're getting restless, but as dusk rolls in and people start getting hungry, they look around, and there are no kebab sellers. Nobody is selling food. So without food, the spectators just leave. The chanters lose their audience, they lose their energy, and by 8 p.m., the entire crowd just peacefully goes home. By simply removing the food vendors, the major completely removed the environmental trigger. He broke the entire violent habit loop. And the thing is, this wasn't just some clever crowd control tactic for the major, this was his entire way of life. He empowered his troops by teaching them that there is absolutely nothing you can't achieve if you just get the habits right. His toolkit was amazing. He created routines to fall asleep instantly in chaotic war zones. He built automatic exercise triggers so working out wasn't a daily debate but a pure reflex. He even wrote out specific habit plans for maintaining a healthy marriage back home. He figured out that once you view everything, whether it's a massive riot or your own relationship, as just a collection of habits, you suddenly have immense power to change it. Which brings us to the ultimate overarching promise of this entire explainer. Look, whether you're an individual trying to kick a smoking habit and run a marathon, an executive trying to save a failing company, or a military officer trying to bring peace to a city, the rule is exactly the same. Habits dictate our lives. But, and this is the best part, they are absolutely not destiny. Like the major said, once you understand how these loops work, it's literally like someone handing you a flashlight and a crowbar. You can open up the machinery of your daily routines, rip out the parts that are holding you back, and rebuild the whole shebang to your exact specifications. We've seen how just one shift in focus completely changed the trajectory of Lisa Allen's life. We've seen how removing a single kebab stand brought peace to an entire city. So now it's time to turn the mirror back on you. What is that one keystone habit you're going to target today to kick off your own chain reaction? Remember, you don't have to fix everything all at once. Just find that one lead domino. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and honestly, I can't wait to see what habits you decide to rewrite.